The tickets are available. The stadiums seem ready. It's time to enter the home straight before the Afcon in January. Here comes the last part of my prediction. In total, I spent over 37 minutes talking about the first 18 participants in the first 3 parts, plus, of course, hours of research and many games that I also watched during the recent international break. I feel well prepared, so that you are too. Now it's time to talk about the last 6 teams, the favorites. Who is remaining? Let's start with the defending champions, Senegal, the Lions of Teranga. I find the history of football in the country incredibly exciting, especially in the 21st century. This rise to become one of the strongest teams in Africa, with the fantastic 2002 World Cup as a starting signal. What players have there not been over the years? The current coach, Aliou Cissé, Henry Camara, Papa Bouba Diop, keeper Tony Silva, and of course El Hadji Diouf. But there is this golden generation that could end the longing for a title at the Afcon last time. Sadio Mane, Kalidou Koulibaly, Edouard Mendy, 3 players who set new standards. But their careers are slowly approaching the home straight. All 3 are playing in Saudi Arabia, and we've often talked about the fact that the players are physically challenged at a lower level in the league there than at the Afcon. With their class and experience, I'm confident that all 3 will reach the required level and play an important role, but no longer as decisive as in recent years. The team needs a breath of fresh air. Who could provide it? One candidate is, of course, striker Nicolas Jackson, who has only played 4 international matches but can play an important role. He is tall, yet technically strong and also very mobile. He can play as a lone striker or as part of a double center forward line. He likes to drop deep and then use his pace to get forward. A potential candidate for top scorer if he gets off to a good start in the tournament. And in midfield, Pape Matar Sarr, already a regular at Tottenham at the age of 21. He is the prototype of the box-to-box player. He always reminds me a little of Paul Pogba and can help the team both offensively and defensively. The pace of his development is incredible, and in this tournament he can show whether he is ready to take over the baton from the old generation. So it's a good mix of Afcon experienced players and big talents that form a promising team. But where's the problem? Togo clearly exposed their weaknesses in the last game, and Senegal were even lucky that the underdogs failed to get a goal out of their big chances in the 90th minute. The team is not invulnerable and shows some weaknesses, especially in defense. But the confidence in Coach Cissé is great. In his 89 games as national coach so far, he has managed 57 wins, 20 draws and 12 defeats. It is almost unprecedented consistency. He can work with the team in peace and has proven that he can lead the team to success. I have Senegal on my radar as a finalist, but in tight games, defense can become an Achilles heel, and elimination in the knockout phase is also possible. The group with Cameroon, Guinea and the Gambia is of course a tough one, but perhaps just the right thing to prevent the team from getting into a rut, and the veterans in particular having to get up to speed straight away. Let's start the North Africa block with the team that was victorious in 2019, Algeria. And so we're talking about a team that didn't lose a single international match in 2023. Their last 2 wins came against Somalia and Mozambique. The group could have been tougher. Burkina Faso, Mauritania and Angola. The favorites are clear. And similar to Senegal, there's an older generation that has already celebrated great successes with the country and is now facing one of the last tournaments. Of course, superstar Riyad Mahrez, plus Islam Slimani, Sofiane Feghouli and Aissa Mandi. Enough has probably already been said about these players. You all know them. Everyone knows how well they can play for Algeria. But what comes next? For example, left winger Amine Gouiri, who had an incredible start to his Ligue 1 career at Lyon and was already being talked about by big clubs. He currently plays for Stade Rennes, usually plays down the wing and has incredible ball control. He can find the better positioned teammate or finish himself. Simply a weapon in the offense. And in defense, Ryan Ait-Nouri from Wolverhampton Wanderers and Rami Bensebaini from Borussia Dortmund. Both play on the left at their clubs, but the Dortmund player in particular can also defend inside. Pressure on the team is enormous, and as always, many people in Africa's largest country are hoping for the title. The team has presented itself as stable and has had far fewer fluctuations than the other top countries. But there is a question mark over the performance of the old generation. I think Mahrez wants to take advantage of the big stage, as the general public follows the Saudi league less, and he is therefore back in the spotlight for the first time. But whether Slimani and Feghouli can still be so decisive, I'm not so sure. The last tournament could still be in their bones. The team also started 2022 as one of the favorites, only to be eliminated in the group stage. It was a similar story in 2017. It seems that Algeria always performs strongly in alternate years, only to disappoint in the next edition. According to this theory, a strong tournament is now on the cards again. Let's talk about the coach, Jamel Belmadi, who has been coaching the team since 2018 and has experienced both successes and disappointments. He likes to play in a 4-3-3 system to give his star Mahrez freedom down the wing. The wing pairing of Mahrez and Gouiri promises a lot, but there are also minor doubts. He missed out on the 2022 World Cup with his team and experienced disappointment at the Afcon, but he still seems to be able to reach his team. It was reported that his halftime speech in the last game against Mozambique once again created a new spirit that led the team to victory. There are some question marks, which is why I don't currently believe Algeria will win the title. They will make it to the quarterfinals, but unfortunately I can imagine that it will be over then. Next up, Egypt. And of course, one of the 3 top stars of the tournament, Mo Salah. But we don't want to reduce the team to just a superstar. Let's take a look at the group first. A doable task. Ghana, who are in crisis, Cape Verde, who are difficult to assess, and the underdogs from Mozambique. Egypt are the clear favorites in this group, and anything other than winning the group would be a disappointment. The coach, Rui Vitória, no stranger to the world. He coached top team Benfica in his native Portugal, but has also traveled to Saudi Arabia for Al Nassr and Russia for Spartak Moscow. Now, since 2022, he has been coaching the Egyptian national team. The team did not take part in the World Cup in Qatar, so this will be his first major tournament with a national team. He is considered one of the best paid coaches in Africa, but people and the association naturally expect results in return. He takes a clear line. Discipline and a good atmosphere are important to him. That's why he kicked 3 players out of the squad in November who were causing trouble. And what does the team look like? The majority of the team is made up of players from the domestic league. Of course, from the big 3 teams, Al Ahly, Zamalek and Pyramids. The league is probably the strongest in Africa, and Al Ahly in particular is a world-renowned team that regularly takes part in the FIFA Club World Cup. But who are the big names and most important players? Mo Salah. But do I still have a lot to tell you about him? He is the star of African and Arab football, and his titles and scores at Liverpool speak for themselves. He'll be the key man again. When he's on fire, he can carry the whole team. But how has he performed at Afcon so far? 2017 was actually his first appearance, 6 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. 2019, elimination in the round of 16, 4 games, 2 goals. And then of course in 2022, the second defeat in the final, 7 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. It's probably not his last chance, as he's only 31, but he's still missing the crowning glory. Mo Salah without a title at the Afcon. It would feel incomplete. Plus, of course, the familiar faces. Mohamed El-Neni from Arsenal is still there, and Mahmoud Trezeguet currently with Trabzonspor. New faces, Omar Mamouche from Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga. A versatile striker who currently plays up front on his own for his team, but also works well as part of 2 in front or even on the flanks. However, Mostafa Mohamed from FC Nantes in Ligue 1 is currently most likely to play up front. He was also a regular in 2022, but failed to score. This time, the Pharaohs are relying on his goals. He also delivers in the league, currently standing at 5 goals. What about the form? Recently, the team has always delivered when it has had to. The only defeat in 2023 came in a friendly against Tunisia, while all of the competitive matches were won, mostly in commanding fashion. The team seems to have grown, and is also in my top 3 when it comes to title contenders. The same applies as with Senegal. If Mo Salah delivers and Mostafa Mohamed scores up front, then the title is in the bag. but I can imagine that duels against the North African neighbors could also lead to the path ending earlier. Tunisia could be waiting in the quarterfinals. The last representative of North Africa, of course, Morocco, the World Cup semi-finalists, a team that went around the world. Now the absolute top favorites in the eyes of many. And is there even one argument against? The defense? No. Led by Captain Romain Sainz and partner Najef Aguer, plus fullbacks Nuzia Mazraoui and of course Achraf Hakimi. In midfield, Sofiane Amrabat clears everything and sets the pace in the game. Who is responsible for the special moments in attack? Amin Harit, who missed the World Cup, strengthens the already strong offense. Hakim Ziyech, Youssef En-Nesyri and the exceptional talent Bilal El Khanous from KRC Genk in Belgium are lurking in the offense. Bono is in goal. So what should happen to this team? Individually, it is clearly the strongest in Africa, without a real weak point. Perhaps the group? Also negative. With DR Congo, Zambia and Tanzania, it could really have been tougher. The only thing I can think of is the strain. Even at the World Cup, players were repeatedly forced to take a break or drop out at short notice during the tournament. Of course, the squad is wide, but Captain Saiz and Amrabat are irreplaceable, and their importance to the team couldn't be greater. I loved seeing the passion with which the players played at the World Cup. They were the underdogs, now they are the clear favorites. Everyone at home is expecting the title, and it's not always easy to deal with this new role. Just as Morocco went into the duels against Belgium, Spain and Portugal, every one of Morocco's opponents will now take them on. I'm excited. They wouldn't be the first team to fail in this task. The switch from the underdog role to the favorite role should not be underestimated. How did things go recently? They won against Tanzania in the World Cup qualifiers, but only draw 1-1 against Ivory Coast in a friendly in October, and even lost against South Africa in June. As you can see, things don't always go as planned. For Morocco, it will be a matter of developing this incredible cohesion again, of going through fire for each other again. Then, the quality will be enough to beat any opponent and the team will win the title. But the highs in Qatar always harbor the risk of a heavy fall. I don't expect it, but it wouldn't be the first time that a favorite has fallen at the first hurdle. And football in Africa in particular has its very own laws. Just ask the next team. Do you think Nigeria would have feared playing little Lesotho to a draw in the World Cup qualifiers? Of course not. But it's one thing to have the best strikers on the continent, it's quite another to get them all involved in the game. The most valuable player on the continent, Victor Osimhen, plus Victor Boniface, Ademola Lookman, Samuel Chukwueze, Kelechi Iheanacho. I could go on and on with this list of incredibly strong attacking players, but you also need that balance, and the game lacks that too often. Of course, every opponent is aware of Nigeria's attacking power, and therefore is playing often with a deep formation. The spaces are then narrow, and the right slot cannot be found to set up the strikers. Every team at the Afcon is equipped with fast attacking players, so they can rely on the transition game and thus hurt Nigeria. Who should find solutions? Coach José Peseiro. The Portuguese previously worked for Venezuela and can look back on many club spells in Portugal, Egypt and other countries. He has been in the business forever, with Nigeria since 2022. And his team's last two disappointing performances against Zimbabwe and Lesotho have tarnished his record. There have even been reports of a possible sacking recently, so it remains exciting until the start of the tournament. The big problem? A creative midfield and a stable defense. Of course, you have a player like Wilfried Ndidi or Joe Aribo, who can bring order, but the general structure simply has to fit. You have to find a way to use as many talented attacking players as possible without making the defense so vulnerable. You also need players who can move the ball forward and find the right moment to pass it into the danger zone. And the defense? Crosses from the fullbacks to Osimhen would be a powerful weapon. Most recently, Ola Aina from Nottingham played on the right and Bruno Onyemaechi from Boavista Porto on the left. Before that, it was Bright Osachi Samuel on the right and Jamilu Collins on the left. A proper formation has not yet been formed, but time is running out. A well-rehearsed defense is the basis for success at the Afcon. So despite the great power, there are still many question marks. If that can be achieved, then hardly anything can stop Nigeria. Expectations at home are once again huge, but unfortunately it would not be the first disappointment for the Super Eagles fans in recent years. Nigeria is an African heavyweight, but has rarely been able to prove it in recent years. Now the golden offensive generation, I'm curious to see how well it succeeds. And then we have already arrived at the last team, the 24th of 24 participants, the host, the country that has produced footballers such as Didier Drogba, Yaya Touré and Gervinho. After almost 40 years, the biggest tournament on the African continent is returning to the Ivory Coast. And is the team ready? Many old heroes from history are on the team's staff. Didier Sokora as head of delegation, ex-keeper Boubacar Bari as technical director, and Kolo Touré as assistant coach. Of course, the other stars from back then will also be there. And their successors? Captain Serge Aurier is a big name due to his long time in the Premier League. He still played with many of the greats. Franck Kessié, of course, who played for Barcelona last year and decided the Clásico. Sébastien Haller, whose story of coming back from cancer is more than inspiring. And in addition to these names, there are up-and-coming talents who will use the tournament as a platform to go from great hope to top performer. There is centre-back Odilon Kusunu, who is similar to his Leverkusen teammate Edmond Tapsoba. Both have reached an incredible level under Xabi Alonso and have become the best defenders on the continent. In midfield, Nottingham's Ibrahim Sangaré, at 25, is in the prime age to take on a central role and, together with Kessié, form one of the strongest central midfields of the tournament. Ivan Ndika from AS Roma, who also majored into a very strong centre-back in the Bundesliga, then still with Frankfurt. At 28, he may no longer be a talent, but Seko Fofana, who played a strong Ligue 1 season with RC Lens last year, should also be mentioned. So the team is set, is well positioned in all areas of the field, except for this one position, which can be decisive, the goalkeeper position. Yahia Fofana from the French second division is not a bad keeper, but not one of the type of Bono, Onana or Mendy. He's 23. A tournament in his own country is a big pressure situation. I hope the boy is up to it. In the offense, there are question marks behind the stars. Haller is completely out of form and currently plays no role at Dortmund. But there is hope for Karim Konaté, a 19-year-old. He has put in strong performances for Salzburg and has also been given regular appearances for the national team recently. The last few results also give hope, with a commanding win against the dangerous Gambia and a more than dominant performance against the Seychelles. With one exception against Zambia in June, the team has performed very well this year. Jean-Louis Gasset has been the coach since 2022, his first stint as national coach and first ever in Africa. He has managed to bring about a generational change and successfully integrate the young players. The country trusts him and is full of anticipation. With this energy, anything is possible for the Ivory Coast. I'm always convinced of the special magic of a home tournament. The team will be carried. Although they are in such a strong group, I count the Ivory Coast among my absolute top favorites. My tip, we will see the Ivory Coast in the final. If they finish first in the group, Morocco will only be a threat there. And what happens then will reveal the unsolvable riddle of football. So that's it. We've discussed all 24 teams. For me, the title will be decided between Morocco and the Ivory Coast. After that, I see Senegal and Egypt as the strongest. This tournament is going to be incredible. I can't wait. I will be there for the group stage, but I'll be reporting on the tournament on Instagram, so follow the Football Worldwide page there so you don't miss anything. See you soon.